Man, you know what? It's already the end of the year. I kind of can't believe it. I feel like 2021 just flew by. But the good news is it looks like sneaker brands aren't letting 2021 go out without a bang. In fact, the last half of this month is one of the best last halves of any month of the entire year of 2021, at least in my opinion. And not only that, but as a thank you to all of you for being such huge supporters of the channel, I've teamed up with Tony D2Wild to give away a pair of patent breads before they actually release in your size. What's up everybody? I'm Seth Fowler, and all of that and more is coming up in this week's episode of Sit or Sell. Before we dive into the video, let's find out how you can win a brand new pair of Air Jordan 1 patent breads in your size. So for this giveaway, I've teamed up with my good friend Tony, aka Tony D2Wild, and this giveaway will run from right now until Christmas Day 2021. So entering this giveaway is really easy. All you need to do is subscribe to my channel by clicking that subscribe button down below, and then subscribe to Tony's channel, which I've made sure to link in the description below. Once you've done that, make sure to comment your Instagram handle and your sneaker size in the comment section down below. And actually, you get a bonus entry if you comment your sneaker size and your Instagram handle, the same thing that you're commenting down below on this video, on Tony's video, which I've linked in the description. And then last, but of course not least, make sure to follow both of us on Instagram. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Once again, all the information and the links that you need to enter are in the description. But with that out of the way, let's dive right into this week's Sit or Sell. Starting things off on December 17th, we've got the Stray Rats New Balance 991 collection. So this collection features two different colorways of the New Balance 991s, and both colorways are inspired by mecha and vintage robots. Now if you follow New Balance at all, you know that this isn't Stray Rats' first time collaborating with New Balance, but it is the first time that they've collaborated on a pair of 991s. So this collection comes in two different colorways. You've got a black, purple, and gray colorway and a brown, gray, and green colorway. And while these two shoes definitely feature some similar colors and also similar color blocking, both of these shoes definitely have sort of a life of their own. So one thing I really love about this collection is that this collection is primarily made in the UK. This is very similar to what New Balance does with their Made in the US collection. They do also have a Made in the UK collection, but us in America might not be too familiar with that because they usually sell those shoes just primarily in the UK. But I love that New Balance works with factories all over the world, and usually when they do something like this, whether it's a Made in the US pair or Made in the UK pair, the material quality and the build quality is just a little bit better than a standard pair of New Balances. And that definitely seems to be the case on this pair of Stray Rats New Balance 991s. Now to be fair, I'm really only looking at pictures. I have not yet seen these sneakers in hand, but from the pictures, they look really clean. So obviously I'm a huge New Balance fan, so I definitely will be going for this collaboration, but I also think a lot of other people are going to be going for this collaboration too. One, because people are starting to catch on to New Balance, which kind of sucks. I mean, it's great for the brand, but kind of sucks for me as someone who likes New Balance and is trying to buy New Balances. But two, because this collection looks really clean. So of course, I'm going to give both of these sneakers in the Stray Rats New Balance 991 collection a sell. Also dropping on the 17th, we've got two different colorways of the Adidas YEEZY 450s. So what's interesting about this release is that one of these colorways has already dropped. In fact, I think it dropped back in June, and that's the dark slate colorway. However, the other colorway, the resin colorway, has yet to drop, and this will be its first official release. So both of these shoes come in monochromatic colorways. The dark slate comes in almost entirely black with a weird sort of hit of brown on the heel, and then the resin 450s, just like the resin slides, comes in a pale green. Now I've got to be honest, I loved the 450s when they first came out. I still like the way that they look because they look so wild and so crazy, but after wearing a pair for almost a year at this point, the sneaker just doesn't do it for me. It's not that comfortable, it gets dirty in really weird ways and in weird places, and it's not a sneaker that I find myself breaking out that often. And also another thing, the sizing of the 450s is like always off. If you have wide feet at all, it's going to be a tough time for you. It's definitely a narrow shoe. You might have to go up a half size to a full size. If you have regular width or narrow feet even, you might still have to go up a half size. It's a weird shoe. It doesn't fit perfectly. And I hope they drop like a 450 V2 because that's a shoe that I really like the overall silhouette, but they've got to fix the comfort issues and they've got to fix the sizing issues. That said, they're still relatively popular silhouettes. I think out of the two colorways, the slate gray colorway will be the most popular. However, because they're newer Yeezys, because they're probably going to be pretty limited, I wouldn't be surprised if both of these colorways end up selling out. Moving on to December 18th, we've got a retro of the Under Armour Curry 1 in metallic gold. So this release couldn't have come at a better time. Steph Curry just passed the all-time three-point record, and it almost feels like this shoe is dropping in honor of that, even though the original colorway of this shoe had nothing to do with that. This Steph Curry 1 comes in a primarily metallic gold upper, accented by black on the heel and red on the outsole, and although personally I'm not a huge fan of the Curry 1, you can't deny the impact this sneaker had on sneaker culture, especially when the shoe first released, back when Steph Curry was winning championships championships like every year. Not only that, Under Armour's from Baltimore and I'm from Baltimore, so I feel like I should give Under Armour more love than I do. Nothing against the brand, but they just don't really drop the kind of sneakers that I wear on a regular basis. Granted, they do sponsor Embiid, and there's the Embiid ones, and Embiid's one of my favorite players. I love the Sixers. There's so many things that like tie me with Under Armour, but there just hasn't been a sick Under Armour collab yet, or a sick Under Armour shoe. Under Armour, if you guys want to collaborate, hit me up. But with all that being said, I think the shoe is coming at the perfect time, and I think there's enough hype around this sneaker and around Curry in particular that this shoe has a really good chance of actually selling out. Also dropping on the 18th, we've got the S&S New Balance 574. So Sneakers and Stuff is one of those brands that's had a lot of really excellent collaborations, most notably with Adidas, but now they're starting to have some great collaborations with New Balance as well. And in my opinion, this New Balance 574 is a perfect example of a great collaboration. No, it's not too crazy, no, it's not too out there, no, it's not even that hyped up, but it's a classic sneaker with a great colorway and great materials that I think a lot of people will like. So the official name of this colorway is Nature, and because of that, this shoe features tonal greens as well as some really nice hits of purple, and I think this is one of those shoes that's going to be an underground hit. It might not resell for that much in the beginning, it might not be that popular in the beginning, but I think in like a year, people are going to be all over this shoe. However, right now, even though I don't think the hype is too crazy on this shoe, at the end of the day, it is still a New Balance collaboration, and as we've seen, New Balance collaborations seem to fly off shelves, so for that reason, I'm giving the S&S Nature New Balance 574 a sell. Continuing on with the 18th, we've got two different colorways of the new Nike LeBron 19 dropping. The two colorways dropping are the white and Dutch blue colorway, which, as you probably could have guessed, comes in white and blue. And the other colorway dropping, whose name isn't as obvious, is the uniform hook colorway, which comes in oranges, yellows, and blues. So obviously both of these shoes are themed after the recent Space Jam movie. And as I said in previous videos, I actually think the LeBron 19 is one of the best looking LeBrons in a long time. I love the way that it sort of mixes and mashes up old styles with new futuristic styles. It's the kind of shoe that I really wish we'd been getting for the last like 4 or 5 years when it comes to LeBrons. Tech-wise, I don't know much about this sneaker. I don't know how good of a performer it's going to be on court. I check out people like the Soul Brothers for information like that. But as far as the release of these shoes and whether I think either of these shoes will sell out, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing that most likely they probably won't move that quickly. There's probably a lot of pairs of them, and for that reason, I'm giving both of these colorways a sit. Sticking with December 18th, we've also got the Air Jordan 1 Craft dropping. So this shoe was originally called the Air Jordan 1 Handcrafted, and then I guess the official name of the shoe came out in the sneakers app, and apparently it's just the Air Jordan 1 Craft, which, while I still don't think the shoe looks anything like a handcrafted sneaker, handcrafted still sounds better than craft. And actually, if you guys want to hear me go more in depth on my gripes with the Air Jordan 1 Craft, you can check out my full review by clicking the link at the top of the screen. Still though, it is an Air Jordan 1, and I love the Air Jordan 1 as a silhouette. It's my favorite silhouette of all time. And while I don't love all the colors used on the shoe and all the materials used on the shoe, and definitely not the story behind the shoe, I think it's not a bad sneaker, and again, it's still an Air Jordan 1, and people love Air Jordan 1, so for that reason, I think the Air Jordan 1 Craft will sell out. Then finally rounding off December 18th, we've got the Adidas YEEZY 350 V2 Beluga Reflective. So I've had this pair for about a week now, and the more that I wear this shoe, the more that I love it. I've always liked the Belugas, and I've had a pair of the Belugas in the past, but there's something about it now that I don't have any other pairs of standard 350 V2s. I do have the compacts, but they don't really count. That makes this shoe even more special. If I could only have one colorway of the 350 V2s, I think it would probably be the Belugas. Plus, they added a little bit of reflective detailing. It's very subtle, but it is kind of nice to see. This shoe is one of my favorite releases of the entire year, and in my opinion, probably the best Yeezy release of the entire year. And of course, I've also done a full review of this shoe, so if you guys would like to check that out, there will be a link at the top of the screen. As far as the release for this shoe, this will definitely be one of the most popular releases of the entire year, Yeezys or otherwise, and because of that, even though they're probably releasing a whole bunch of these will still be pretty difficult to get, and for that reason, I'm giving the Adidas YEEZY 350 V2 Beluga Reflective a definite sell. Then moving on to December 20th, we've got the Adidas YEEZY 700 MNVN in metallic. Metallic's kind of a weird name for this shoe because it's really just like a medium gray 700 MNVN, and I guess the 700 text on the side, because it's reflective, could be considered somewhat metallic. However, every other pair of 700 MNVNs also had that same detail on the side, so really, I just think it's a dumb name. To be fair, I guess I'm being picky, but I don't really have much to say about this sneaker. It's just your standard 700 MNVN. It was a shoe that was popular when it first released, but now, about a year and a half later, people are over it. I still find pairs sitting in Atmos and Lapson and Hammer around Center City, Philadelphia, and while it sells out online most times, it doesn't really seem to sell out in store, which makes me think maybe it's not actually selling out online. Maybe they're kind of hoarding pairs and kind of keeping them for restocks and things like that just to make it look like it's selling out. So overall, I'm going to give this shoe a sell because it'll sell out online and the good sizes will sell out in store. Continuing on to December 21st, we've got the green Adidas Pharrell Human Race NMD BBC Running Dog. That name is ridiculously long. So from what I can remember, the BBC Running Dog icon on the Pharrell Human Race NMDs was a Complex Con exclusive design, or I guess colorway. Now, to be completely honest, and I probably should have done my research on this beforehand, but from what I remember, the colorway that released at Complex Con was blue or like a gray, and this colorway is a green, so it is a different colorway. But it still features the Running Dog logo on the top of the shoe. So for whatever reason, Pharrell Human Race NMDs are not as popular as they once were. I don't know if that's because they flooded the market, which is funny because Yeezy is doing the same thing, except for some reason Yeezys are still hype and Pharrell's aren't really hype anymore. I don't know if it's just because Pharrell hasn't dropped music in a while or whatever the case may be, but it's odd to see. Regardless, this shoe comes in a pretty clean looking olive green upper, accented by semi-translucent white and blue on the midfoot cage, and across the top of the shoe you've got this really interesting thick embroidered Running Dog logo that kind of runs all the way across both sides of the pair. So even though it's possible that this might be one of the rarest Pharrell Human Races to drop, I don't think it's going to be that popular, and honestly, I kind of think the shoe is going to sit. And then finally, rounding off December 21st, we've got the Nike LeBron 9 Watch the Throne. So this shoe originally dropped back in 2011 to commemorate Jay-Z and Kanye's album Watch the Throne, which makes sense because if you look at the laces of the shoe, you'll notice this big gold looking emblem, which is essentially just the album cover of the album. This shoe comes in primarily black with an icy blue outsole and of course gold details, and overall, if you're a fan of LeBron at all or you're a fan of Jay-Z or Kanye, I can totally understand if you'd really want to grab this shoe. Plus, the Nike LeBron 9 is one of LeBron's most popular silhouettes, and I think there's a lot of collectors out there who are trying to grab every single retro of that shoe. So for that reason, I'm giving the Nike LeBron 9 Watch the Throne a definite sell. Moving on to December 22nd, we've got the Nike Air Harachi Liverpool. So I've got to admit, outside of Ted Lasso and going to one game in Portugal, I know nothing about football, nothing at all. I mean, American football, yes, I know a bunch about American football, but British or European or worldwide football, just nothing. Neymar, Messi, FIFA. Actually, I did play a lot of FIFA when I was living in New York. I'd bet my roommates dinner a lot. I'd usually lose, but it was still a lot of fun. Okay, I guess I'm not giving myself enough credit. I've played a lot of FIFA. So with that all being said, I know very little about this shoe. I read the blurb on the Nike Sneakers app, so this shoe is obviously a Liverpool themed shoe, and it's based off of the fans of Liverpool, and it has some of their sayings all over it. It also features what I'm assuming are the Liverpool colors, the white and red checkerboard, but that's all I know. And as far as the release of this shoe, I don't know how popular this shoe will be in the United States because I think a lot of people are like me in the US and don't know anything about football teams outside of the US. I guess I'll give this shoe a sell because I think it's possible there's probably Liverpool fans in the US. This might be a more limited sneaker. Maybe it'll sell in the US. I have no idea. So let's just give this shoe a sell. Also releasing on December 22nd, we've got the Nike Offline Pack in enamel green. So this shoe is apparently inspired by puffy down jackets and camping and being outdoors and essentially getting offline. And while I love that inspiration and I love the idea of getting offline and unplugging and disconnecting and just being in nature, I love that. I think that's just something that I've started to grow more and more fond of as I've gotten older. I know it's kind of like antithetical with my job because I'm putting out content on the internet and it really pays me for you guys to stay on the internet longer. Regardless, I love the concept of this shoe, but I think the overall execution of the sneaker and the look of this shoe is not really for me. I don't know, I just don't think the shoe is going to be that popular. So for that reason, I'm giving the Nike Offline Pack in enamel green a sit. Next up, also dropping on the 22nd, we've got two different colorways of women's Nike Dunk Lows. So these shoes are part of what Nike is calling the Primal pack. You've got two different colorways dropping as part of this release. You've got the Primal pink colorway, which comes in sort of like a dusty pink look with sort of animal prints on the Nike swoosh, and the Primal white colorway, which comes in white with the same animal prints on the Nike swoosh. And honestly, I'm just not a fan of animal prints on sneakers. I don't have a problem with them. I don't like when they shed, like when they put faux fur on sneakers and the faux fur comes off. I hate that. But the actual design of the shoe, I'm just not a fan of. And so when you put this as such a big detail on a sneaker, it's just not for me. Again, though, it doesn't really matter what I think about these shoes because they are designed for women and they really only come in women's sizes, so I couldn't even get the shoe if I wanted to. But at the end of the day, though, these are both Nike Dunk Lows, and Nike Dunk Lows are incredibly popular at the moment. So for that reason, I think both the Primal pink colorway and the Primal white colorway will probably sell out. Also dropping on the 22nd, we've got the women's Air Jordan 1 Atmosphere. So this shoe seems to be one of the most anticipated releases of December because honestly, it's one of the cleanest Air Jordan 1s to drop all year. This pair of Jordan 1s comes in unfortunately just women's sizing, but I think it is extended women's sizing, so guys with slightly larger feet could probably grab a pair for themselves. And honestly, I'm in love with the colorway of this shoe. I love the fact that it sort of looks like a pair of black toes, except with pink on the heel and sort of a dark navy on the black accents instead of black. I think it's a really clean colorway, colorway. The materials of the shoe look pretty great, even though they're different from standard pairs of Air Jordan 1s. You've got patent leather on the heel of the shoe, just the heel, and then regular tumbled leather on the front half of the shoe. And my favorite detail of the entire sneaker is actually the bubblegum accent on the outsole, where they added like a slightly different shade of pink on the outsole to make it look like you stepped in gum. I really feel like we don't get enough good pink Air Jordan colorways, and so for that reason I'm really excited about this shoe. And of course, being an Air Jordan 1 with a very clean colorway, the hype for this shoe is really high, even though it's a women's only sneaker, and for that reason I'm giving this shoe a sell. Also dropping on the 22nd, we've got the Adidas YEEZY 350 V2 MX Rock. So this shoe is very similar to the MX Oat colorway, except instead of coming in oranges and tans and blues, this shoe comes in blacks, browns, and silvers. Now I'm still not 100% sure if the silver or gray accents on the upper of the shoe are reflective. I'm thinking that they're not, because none of the news sources that I'm reading are saying that they are, and I haven't seen any reflective pictures of these shoes, so I would guess that they're not, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. So of course, we've already seen the pattern on this upper before with the MX Oats, and it's a pattern that I think Kanye and Adidas will continue to use moving into the future. Now, as far as popularity of this shoe versus the previous MX Oats, I think the MX Rocks will be more popular because black Yeezys tend to do better than really any other colorway. Plus, when you sort of mix in the grays and the browns, it makes it a super unique looking pair of sneakers, and I think overall, it's one of the cleanest 350s to drop all year. Not as clean as the Beluga reflectives, but it's up there. I'm assuming that the sizing of this shoe is going to be the same as every other pair of 350s, so probably a half size small, which is unfortunate, but hopefully eventually they'll fix sizing on their standard 350 V2s, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's been 5 years and they haven't done it yet, so I don't know if they ever will. Oh, and of course, I definitely think that the 350 V2 MX Rocks will sell out. And then finally rounding off December 22nd, we've got a restock of the Adidas YEEZY 350 V2 Blue Tints. So we knew this shoe was going to restock sometime before the end of the year, but up until recently we didn't have an official date. And now, obviously, it seems like these shoes are restocking alongside the release of the MX Rocks, actually similar to what we're seeing happen with the Resin 450s and the Dark Slate 450s. Now, even though the Blue Tints were a popular colorway back when they first released, I don't know if they're as popular now, and I think if people are faced with a choice between the MX Rocks and the Blue Tints, which they probably won't be because they're just going to enter for both, I think people would probably choose the MX Rocks because they're black, and black is easier to rock. But regardless, it is still a popular 350 V2 colorway that a lot of people are looking forward to the restock of, so for that reason, I'm giving the 350 V2 Blue Tints a definite sell. Then moving on to December 27th, we've got the Soulfly Air Jordan 1 Low Carnivores. So this shoe, honestly, not my thing. I don't really like it. I don't love the colorway. I really don't love the color blocking. I don't have any problems with Soulfly. In fact, I love most of the things that Soulfly puts out. In fact, my Soulfly Air Jordan 10s are one of my favorite Jordans in my collection. It's funny because I actually can't find them on my wall right now. I know this really isn't helping out my case, but they really are one of my favorites. But man, this particular Soulfly Air Jordan 1 Low is just, in my opinion, a miss. According to Nike, apparently this shoe is inspired by the carnivorous wildlife in the Everglades in Florida, which is where the store is based, or in Florida is where it's based, and that's fine. I get that the red is either blood or like the tongue of an animal or something like that. Honestly, to me, it seems like it would make more sense if they went for like an alligator theme, like a Florida gator theme, but it doesn't really matter because the shoe isn't for me. I'm probably not going to buy this shoe, but regardless, I think a lot of people are into this shoe because Jordan 1s are popular. Maybe people like this colorway, and there's also a lot of Soulfly fans out there, so I don't think this shoe will have trouble selling out. I just don't know how well it's going to do on the aftermarket. Not that we're talking about the aftermarket, but that's sort of a good indicator of how popular a shoe actually is. Actually, you know what? Before I forget, I think the shoe does also have an initial release date at Soulfly in store, like a week or 10 days before this sneaker's release, which I think is the 17th. Not 100% sure, but the wider release and probably the easier release to grab will be the sneakers release. But at the end of the day, it's probably not going to be that easy because sneakers is just so busted anyway. So with that being said, I'm giving the Soulfly Air Jordan 1 Low Carnivore a sell. Then moving on to December 28th, we've got the women's Nike Dunk High Next Nature Pink Oxford. So this shoe has been pushed back more times than I'm willing to count. I've talked about it in pretty much every single sit or sell video for the last like 2 months, so because of that, I'm not covering this shoe again. It's pink, it's got sort of a patchwork upper, it's inspired by camping. That's all you're gonna get. I think the shoe is fine. I think it'll be relatively popular. It is, of course, a Nike Dunk High, and for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. And then rounding off December 28th, we've got the women's Nike Dunk High Moon Fossil. So this is another shoe that's been pushed back and pushed back. I don't think it's been pushed back as much as the Next Natures that we just talked about, but regardless, it still hasn't released yet, and we've been waiting for like a month and a half. But regardless, this shoe comes in a pretty clean looking light tan or gray color, which I guess is the Moon Fossil color. It's accented by sort of a darker gray on the rest of the upper, and overall, it's one of the cleaner Nike Dunk Highs to release over the last month. Unfortunately, it's only releasing in women's sizing, so larger footed dudes are going to be out of luck with this one, but it's still a very clean shoe that I think a lot of people are going to go for, even smaller footed guys, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sell. But then moving on to December 30th, we've got the release of one of the most anticipated sneakers of the year, the shoe that we're giving away, and one of my favorite sneakers of the entire year, and that's the Air Jordan 1 Patent Bread. So over the last couple weeks, it actually seemed like the release of the Patent Bread Air Jordan 1s had been pushed, and that was because it had been removed from the sneakers app, and retailers were saying that they weren't exactly sure when the shoe was dropping. But while filming this video, the shoe was re-added to the sneakers app, and it looks like it is still releasing on December 30th. This is honestly one of my favorite shoes of the entire year. I'm obsessed with the Air Jordan 1 Bread. It's my favorite colorway on my favorite sneaker, and the fact that Nike is finally giving us a version of that shoe is really, really cool to see. Plus, it feels so premium with things like this metal Jumpman hang tag. It's so sick, and it's one of those colorways that just goes with everything. And even though I don't love patent leather, the shine on this shoe just makes it feel that much more special. And actually, if you guys want to learn more about this sneaker, I've done a full review on this shoe, which you can watch by clicking the link at the top of the screen. I don't really have much else to say about this shoe. Everything that I love about this shoe I state in the review, so make sure to check that out. But honestly, one of the best releases of the year, and one of the shoes I'm looking forward to most because I definitely plan to double up. And of course, because this is going to be one of the most popular releases of the entire year, I definitely think that the Air Jordan 1 Patent Breads will sell out, and sell out very, very quickly. And then rounding off December 30th with a tentative release, we've got the Adidas YEEZY 1050 boot. So I've talked about this boot before. I think it was in my most anticipated remaining sneaker releases of 2021. Very specific video, but I have talked about this sneaker before, I guess boot before. This shoe comes in a bright neon orange makeup with a tan zipper accent on the top of the foot, and overall, in my opinion, it's the best looking Yeezy boot that's dropped or will drop so far. It's just a nice mix of modern and futuristic. It's not too crazy and too out there, but at the same time, it's still a great looking boot that looks like it can be worn, 20 years from now and it'll still fit in. Now, unfortunately, there's no official release date for this shoe. I've heard rumblings that it is releasing on the 30th. That's why I put it on the 30th in this video, but I'm not totally sure. I don't think anyone really is. But honestly, I'm just excited for the 1050s to finally release, because this is a Yeezy boot that I want to rock on a regular basis, especially when it's snowing, especially in the winter, and hopefully it drops in the winter and not randomly in the spring when it's kind of useless. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see and hope that it ends up dropping sooner than later. And obviously, because the shoe is a brand new Yeezy silhouette, it will probably drop in very limited quantities. And of course, just being a Yeezy, and a new Yeezy at that, I definitely think that the Yeezy 1050s will sell out. And then finally, rounding off today's video with the shoe that doesn't really have a release date yet, we've got the Air Jordan 11 Adapt Legend Blue. So last year we got the very first Air Jordan 11 Adapt, which was actually the first Air Jordan sneaker to feature the Adapt lacing system. Now, I will admit that this self-tying Adapt lacing system is super cool, but I don't love the way that it looks on classic Air Jordan sneakers. I feel like the changes that they have to make it fit on the shoe just make the shoe look kind of dumb. But I do have to admit that the Legend Blue version of this shoe does look better than last year's version, which wasn't really any Air Jordan 11 colorway that we had seen before. Now, of course, because this is the self-tying version of the Air Jordan 11, I would expect the retail price of this shoe to be ridiculous. I think the last pair dropped at like 400 or 500 bucks. I think this shoe will probably drop at the same price point, but unfortunately, we don't have a release date for this shoe yet. However, we do have official images, and I wouldn't be surprised if it randomly releases on the sneakers app. But even though this shoe will most likely have a ridiculous price point and still doesn't have a release date, I definitely think that the Air Jordan 11 Adapt Legend Blues will sell out. But that pretty much wraps up the entire video for today. Once again, if you guys would like to win this pair or a pair in your size of patent bred Air Jordan 1s, make sure to check out those links in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.